out. It is 7:30 in the evening. I'm Sergey Brown, and of course we are. Pardon me. And there we go, right here. I have got some great news tonight. One of the things that we want to talk about, of course, is something strange is happening this week. Lee Zeldin, head of the Environmental Protection Agency, posted on X that the government wants to be transparent about its geoengineering programs. Let that sink in. After decades of denial, gaslighting, now they want to talk. In other news, Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Georgia, whole communities underwater, streets submerged, even Chicago. Come on. Families are trapped. In Kerr County, Texas, at least 120 people are dead. Over 160 are still missing, with 96 confirmed dead in Kerr County alone. That includes, unfortunately, about 36 kids from the Camp Mystic. Just 3 days before this disaster, the Rainmaker Corporation ran a cloud seeding operation in Texas. Globally, Uruguay, Nepal, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, China, they're having the exact same problems. So tonight, we're going to ask, has the damage from cloud seeding finally signed its own death warrant? I know we asked that last night, but it's worth repeating because I think it has. And my guest tonight, well, he's probably got some things to say about it also. But first of all, before we go there, baby, how are we doing in the chat? Who is talking over there?
Well, everybody's here tonight. Christy, Pat, Babushka, LaShawn, Chris, I've already said that, Mary Magma. They're all saying good evening. So we're all saying hello.
Perfect. We absolutely love hellos. While we say hello, then, I am just going to get on to it because we've got a lot to talk about. Tonight's guest is, of course, the Michigan gubernatorial candidate, Anthony Tony Hudson. This is not a campaign pitch tonight. We're going to sit down and talk in a get-to-know-you session with him. We want to know who he is and what drives him and why is he so hell-bent on stepping out of his comfortable life to get into the meat grinder that is running a state. Anthony, how are we doing? Tony, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing really good tonight. Thank you for having me.
It is my absolute pleasure. So I'm curious, first of all, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Michigan?
No, I grew up in Texas, of all places.
What part?
Right around the Austin area.
Okay, a beautiful area. I love Austin. I've spent quite a bit of time in Texas. We lived, actually, baby. Remember, we lived down in Corpus Christi a few years back. Spent a year down there, and
hated it.
You know, yeah. I'll tell you, there's something about the weather down there that just does not agree with me. I'm more of a northern. I was born in Alaska. So what brought you to Michigan?
So, long story short is I had married a Michigander, and we had 2 children. And when that marriage didn't work out, she moved back to Michigan to be with her family. And I followed to be a dad to my children. And that was 13 years ago. And I've made Michigan my home ever since.
It's absolutely beautiful up there. I'm threading the needle on my 3rd marriage here. So we'll see if she takes the bait.
3rd time's a charm.
Exactly. Now, I'm just curious, why would you, knowing how brutal the government, a government position such as the governorship is, why would you step out of any man's life and take that responsibility on?
Well, I'm not a philosopher by any means, but I was reading one night before bed, and I read a quote from Gandhi that said, if you want to see real change in the world, you have to be the change you want to see.
Yep.
Well, for a couple of months, that resonated with me. And, I'm a God-fearing man, and I prayed on it and was asking, what is my purpose? I know I wasn't born to be a career truck driver or just a father. There's got to be a higher calling for me. And that prayer was answered right around October, November of last year when I started getting emails of people here in Michigan telling me not to stop fighting, to stand up, run for governor,
Right.
and represent the people. So when we look at what's happening here in this state, we have a corrupt corporation of politics in Lansing, and these people do not represent the general public at all.
Right.
They go against what we want. They go against our needs, misrepresentation. They wastefully spend our money, and basically they control our lives. And when we live in the land of the free, we shall be free.
Yeah.
And government should be controlled by the people. So I wanted to stand up and fight to protect our constitutional rights and our future moving forward. And with everything that's going on, it kind of makes it easy to say the right things and do the right things in government.
Absolutely. You talk about truck driving. I've known any number of truck drivers because really that is the backbone of our society. We don't have trucks moving product. We have no product.
That's right.
What does that do with that understanding of that business? When you look at Michigan and where it sits and the importance of it, does that give you any kind of bump or understanding of your voters rather than someone who comes out of the political? Because a lot of politicians are groomed in college and then brought right out of college into, like assistants and pages and that sort of thing. You don't have that. Do you think that's a benefit or do you think it's a detriment?
I think it's a detriment because it goes to show how the failed education system is educating people in college. You're indoctrinating them. You're teaching them the proper ways to lie and manipulate the people for the benefit of gaining financial security.
Right.
The whole point of politics is to be a servant of the people, not to go in and trash the people and walk all over the people or ignore the people, but to actually bow down and serve every constituent from either side of the aisle to make sure that what needs to get done gets done.
Exactly.
And in Michigan, you can look in any direction and find problems, issues that have been neglected for decades because our career politicians have gotten very good at playing the game and they've forgotten about us.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm cut from the same cloth as all these people, so they tend to trust more about what I say, knowing that I've rolled up my sleeves as a truck driver and have always been pushing this country forward from a truck. Now we can do it from Lansing.
Well, fantastic. And well, you got some good football teams up there too.
Yeah, I'm still a Longhorn fan.
There we go.
I got to support my Michigan schools too. Hopefully my sons will be attending one of them soon. But we've been Longhorn fans all over. And I will tell everyone listening that we went to that Longhorn Michigan game last year, and it was bittersweet because you want the home team to win, but your school's in town, and I think we took care of business, so it was fun.
Exactly. Are you going to make the switch when you become governor?
We will wear the colors of all of our schools because we're not going to discriminate, but I have a Longhorn tattooed on my right arm, so there's no getting away from that.
So there you go. Well, I was an Alabama fan for a long time, but I'll tell you, I'm not liking the new coaching down there, and I really like Steve Sarkisian for the Longhorns, and of course Arch Manning. It's going to be a good year, a good few years for the Longhorns.
We've got our tickets for Columbus, Ohio. We opened the season against the Buckeyes, and we all saw the semifinals last year. It was a close game until Quinn Ewers fumbled on the goal line. And we lost by 14, but we've already secured our tickets. So we're going to go down there and support the Longhorns, but also knowing that rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State, we want to give Ohio State that first loss of the season.
Absolutely. It'll be a big loss for them. Baby, what are they saying over in the chat?
Babushka says Gandhi was one of a kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And can Anthony hear me?
No, I don't believe Anthony can hear you, babe.
So
I can only hear her in the distance.
Okay.
Okay.
Coming through my mic.
Hook 'em horns, as Sue Pear says. Beats those Wolverines, says a Spartan. Lori Holmes. Sue Pear says go Gators. So, there's a bit of a...
There we go. A Florida rivalry right
Sounds like
there.
we've
Florida
gone off
rivalry,
topic.
and we get to go to their house this year after that thumping we put on them last year.
Yeah. When was the last time the Florida Gators won anything of significance?
Oh, you
It's
start
been a
something
minute.
with Sue.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Tebow's an old man now.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. So let's talk about the governor's race. If you had one, your biggest concern about doing this, what would it be?
Well, I picked a fight with Republicans tonight on someone that they really support and followed from the last gubernatorial race. And I called him out for some things that he's saying that's just simply not true. So my biggest concern is, how do we unite these people? How do we unite the establishment Republicans and the moderate Republicans to the far right Republicans? How do we, get the Democrats to open their eyes and see that reality is something we should be focused on, and you need common sense to do that?
Absolutely.
A lot of these people, when I spit the truth, I'm confident in what I'm saying. It's up to you whether you want to believe that or not. And if you don't, I've been known to go on the record and say that's a you problem, not a me problem.
Exactly.
But the people need the truth. They need transparency, and they need accountability in government. And that's exactly what we bring. That's what we voted on when we voted Donald Trump into office, was Agenda 47. Smaller government, more accountability. And that's what we're trying to bring to the voters here in Michigan.
So we had Lee Zeldin talk about transparency today, and it's to me, it's starting to look like they're panicking. We have done a tremendous job, the Clear Skies movement, in motivating almost 1 million people to start getting their governments, the state governments, to put legislation together. And we absolutely, rang their bell on the 119th Congress, pulling out the AI weaponization of the weather sections. I hear that that's going in the military bill. We're going to have to get on that. But what do you think about Lee Zeldin? Is he doing a little CYA here? Are they trying to get a hold of the conversation and manage that? Or do you think that he really is going to step up? And because they released some information today, after decades, absolutely decades of denying it, they finally came up and said, yeah, we're doing it. And so here's the information. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's willing to take on the fight, and I think it's our job to support the effort. A lot of these candidates, a lot of these congressmen, senators who are against what's happening in the skies, they talk about it briefly, but then they don't get the support to really encourage them to cross the finish line.
Right.
We need to do that. We need to come together. We need to assemble. We need to educate people on facts and put the conspiracies to sleep, so that people understand exactly how detrimental this is to not only our life, our land, our wildlife, and our water, and how that all comes together in the big picture of things. What do we do? That's my question. How can we push this movement and get it in front of the right people? And I told you earlier that I saw something today, and I have it right here.
All right.
This was on Facebook. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is filing a federal legislation banning the use of chemicals to engineer or modify the weather. Quote unquote, it will be a felony offense.
There you go.
This will be a Florida-style legislation which was just signed into law. We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modifications and geoengineering. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is pretty outspoken. And she's probably the biggest congressperson that we could have to push this. And if she can pass that bill on a federal level, then the governors of the states can start taking more action, towards these pilots that continue to fly over and dump their chemtrails, or, the shooting of the salt crystals in the air,
right,
and, the cloud manipulation, all that stuff. It's got to stop. I've been watching what's going on in Texas and New Mexico. Texas mainly because it's my home state, and the government doesn't seem like they care that people are dying.
No, they don't.
Over this. And what is their goal? What are they doing? Are they protecting minerals? Is it a land grab? Is it a population control? Why would they want to take the lives of American citizens by flooding them out and putting them in bad situations?
I mean, when we look at what has been happening, the massive amounts of floods that are going on, and rumor has it that there was cloud seeding in New Mexico as well, and maybe cloud seeding in Oklahoma. And we have seen the skies just open up, and what they do is they drain the moisture out of these clouds that otherwise would spread it over a vast area. It just gets dumped right there. And I think that, I mean, honestly, what it looks like to me, I think that there's so much money that they get to pull out of the taxpayer's pocket on this that they simply don't want to stop. I'm not saying they're out to murder people, but what I'm saying is, are they compartmentalizing? We have got some collateral damage. We always will. It's too bad it happened, but we're making millions of dollars doing this. And
right.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Let me bring up a couple years ago, Hazard, Kentucky flooded.
Right.
Do you remember hearing about that?
Oh, yeah.
I went there, and Joe Biden and his sleepy crew was there with him, and he was there for like 45 minutes, spent $50 million on his crew, took a few pictures, and left. I was there for a week, spent about $1,100, but we handed out more than $15,000 worth of food and essential needs to the people who suffered, but we also got to ask a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. And the people of Hazard, Kentucky said that prior to that valley flooding, they found lithium in the mines, the coal mines. They found lithium.
Right.
And quickly FEMA went out there and put up big fences around the mines. They had guns, armored guards outside the gates. And when the flooding happened, FEMA started going around asking people, or not asking, but offering $88 for their property.
Wow.
$200 for their property. And it just seemed like it was a land grab to get the people away from the mines so they could mine the lithium, which goes into what? Electric vehicle batteries, your tools, all those things. So it was devastating because they tried to say, well, the dam broke. Well, we went to the dam and there was no signs of damage at the dam at all. And they got 12, 13 inches of rain. But in one particular gentleman, the water from the tongue of his mobile home to the riverbank where the water met the land was 127 feet.
Wow.
You don't get that much of a water rise on 13 to 15 inches of rain.
Right.
So there was something else at play. Then you look at what happened in Texas. You look at what happened in North Carolina.
Oh.
The hurricane itself developed in the Gulf of Mexico, which never happens. They always come from the Atlantic coast off of Africa. And where did that storm go? It went up through Florida, Georgia, and then just sat on North Carolina.
Yep.
And the devastation. Why? What were they looking to gain out of that? Those are the questions I want to know.
Yeah.
These are not coincidences. Here in Michigan, we had an ice storm recently that took out power all over northern Michigan. And last year, FEMA brought 300 trucks and trailers in here and claimed that they found a mineral in northern Michigan that needs a lot of water. So they put the ice storm in play. It snow, the ice, and when that melts, it kind of lubricates the ground, right?
Right.
So that would help that mineral grow, whatever that mineral is. Nobody's talking about it. There's a lot of devastation, and a lot of people had no power for 21 days.
Right during the ice storms part of the year. So with lithium and the electrical. Hold on, I think Don. Do you have a question over there in the chat, babe?
Oh, there's lots going on, but Sue Perry says we need PA legislation, not Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I think the overall thought. Tony, is that the Florida legislation it's good, but Doug Mastriano, Senator Mastriano from Pennsylvania, his legislation, it should be the template for all the other states.
Yeah, it's the strongest bill.
It is. He's going to use the National Guard to track the planes. He's going to use the state sheriffs to go out and get the offenders, and I think it starts at 5 years, felony at 5 years, and 100,000.
Well, not only that, the state of Michigan, under my governorship, will go after the pilot's pilot license as well. We'll pull their license so that they can't fly again.
I like
First
that.
offense.
Yeah.
We're going to tell you not to do it. If you do it, we're going to bring your plane down and you're going to lose your license. We have to start protecting Michiganians. A lot of people say Michiganders, but I don't like that word.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start protecting the skies. And in return, we're protecting our farmland. We're protecting our wildlife. We're protecting the soil and the water.
Right.
And Michigan's one of the worst when it comes to health in the state of, as far as the country is concerned.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are unhealthy here. And I just look at what we eat, what we drink, and where it comes from. And it's not hard to point a finger in the direction of why.
Right. So speaking of farms, we have regenerative farmer Steve Jarvis. He lives up here in the panhandle of Idaho, and he's been, really raising hell about, hey, my crops are not growing like they used to. And it's because he's been taking soil samples. There's a lot of aluminum, strontium, barium in the soil, and it shouldn't be there. There's no reason why it should. Are you seeing much the same in Michigan with the farms? Are the farmers concerned, or is it a non-issue up there?
No, it's definitely an issue, and it's not the only issue, because we have a lot of generational farmers here in Michigan that have passed their farms down from one generation to the next. And these young kids don't know how to manage the finances for the farm.
Mm-hmm.
In the farming world, you'll get 3 good years to 7 bad years. And in those 3 good years, you make a ton of money.
Yeah.
But if you spend it all, you're not going to make it through the 7 bad years.
Exactly.
So the farmers are now selling off or leasing their land for these solar panels. And that has to be protected, because the solar farms are contaminating our land as well.
Completely.
So when you have solar farm contamination and you have the skies contaminating the land, these farmers are going to end up going out of business.
Yeah.
And then we have to start importing our food from other states or other countries, and the cost of groceries are going to go up again. So we have to protect the efforts. We have to be very aggressive with the efforts to protect our land and our air quality, because if it's in that guy's soil in Idaho or Iowa, chances are it's in your body because you breathed it when you were outside.
Absolutely. My sweetheart Dawn just had a heavy metals test, and metals that you would never expect to be in her test show up. Baby, am I allowed to say anything about that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's why I'm going to go have the chelation therapy.
Yeah, is it get the chelation therapy, get that pulled out of you. So on the solar energy front, what is the possibility of starting to tear all of that out? Because I've driven, across this country as a truck driver. You have too. Yeah, I mean, I see every day. I see the wind farms and the solar farms, and they destroy those areas. They're horrific monstrosities, really. But I've heard, and we've got a number of reports that entire flocks of birds can be taken out by these solar farms because the beam of light that comes off of it creates so much heat, and it focuses at particular areas above right around where the birds fly. And you think that the whole green movement is all about not heating the atmosphere, but you're essentially setting up big mirrors, heating up entire areas and vast areas. What's the chance of getting, is there a path forward to start getting this stuff taken out and opening that farmland back up?
Well, I think that solar panels should be put around the golf course to keep the Canadian geese away
There you go.
because they destroy the golf course. So it's not a joking matter, but trying to be humorous. Um, yes, there is. And part of my platform, if you go to my website, electanthonyhudson.com, it says to end the wind and solar initiative here in Michigan,
Yeah.
which means no more implementation on our state land or our farmland. We will protect that land. If you own a home and you want to put solar panels on your roof, go ahead. That's the roof of your home, not the ground of our food system.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm talking to a chemist, if I could call him that, and there is a chemical equation to refertilize the land once you pull these panels up out of the ground.
Right.
It's not a fast process, but it is an effective process. And over time, you can refertilize that soil. But right now,
So,
when you pull,
let me just get this straight. Of course, they have to lay the concrete or the post, right? And that concrete is very, very toxic. And so that you're saying that destroys the soil. And so there has to be a process where you rebuild the content of the soil, the microbiome of the soil.
yeah.
And
For every solar panel that's put in the ground, let's say it's one panel, because it's like 3 feet deep, you have to go like 8 feet deep and 12 feet wide to get the contaminated area. So you're looking at a giant hole for one panel. Imagine these farms that are literally hundreds of acres. It's going to look like a crater on the moon.
Yeah.
But you've got to bring good soil back, put it back in those holes, and then start the healing process.
That is shocking.
Refertilizing that soil. But it can be done
Right.
if you want to do it. If you get people that just talk about it to get votes, it'll never happen. But if you get people that are motivated, you can clean up the area. And that's what we want to do. We've noticed that these wind farms, you ever seen those things turning on a day where there's no wind?
Yeah.
They're using the stored energy that they've already collected to give you the impression that they're working.
Oh.
So that's why they say it takes 20 years for that thing to pay off the installation for each one. And here in Michigan, when they pull those fiberglass blades off, for whatever reason, they bury them in the ground.
Right.
It's the only place they put them. So we want to take those out of our soil, and I would prefer to sell them to the states in the South that get more sunshine, where they could be more productive and get them off our soil.
Yeah.
And to be honest, let me ask you this. Where do you think the most productive place would be for wind farms, the wind turbines?
I'm not a fan of them, but I'm going to say, coming off the lakes, of course, Chicago has a lot of wind. You know, the
what
Midwest,
about the coastline?
The coastline,
There is never a calm day on the beach.
Yeah.
Because of the tide and the currents and all that. It's always got a breeze up and down the eastern and western coast of the United States. And California's got hundreds of thousands of them out there, rightfully so.
Well,
but you don't need them in Nebraska, Michigan,
honestly,
Minnesota.
I am not. I've done a lot of research on wind power and solar power, and first of all, we have to subsidize those industries greatly. I mean, hundreds of billions of dollars a year, because they don't make enough energy to offset their installation and their upkeep. You know, this is one of the things that people don't realize. Is the most modern solar panel on the planet, as soon as you put it in, you've got about 5 weeks that it will run at 100%. Pull that set in, bang, give you energy. After that 5 weeks, it starts trailing off. After that first year, you're down to anywhere between 50% down to 12%, depending on how they kept up the maintenance. By year 5, you have to replace those, or you're getting no energy out of it. And so you constantly have this turnover of investment, and it never pays itself off. And you can't get rid of these products. I mean, they're horrifically toxic, and they don't decompose. I mean, you know.
Well, I had a speech a couple of weeks ago in Detroit, and two of my Republican opponents were there.
Mm-hmm.
One was a former attorney general, and one's a current Senate Majority Leader.
Right.
And I brought up the elimination of the wind and solar system here in Michigan.
Yep.
Statistics show that Michigan only has about 55 clear sunny days a year.
Oh, wow.
And for the solar panels, you need sunshine for them to work. And I said, it's ironic that our solar panels work 55 days a year on average. That's about as much as our legislators do in Michigan.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they literally worked like 58 days last year.
Wow.
So if you want production, you can't bring that here. You've got to take it somewhere like Oklahoma, Arizona, New Mexico, Alabama, Florida, where they get sunshine year round. Here we have so many cloudy days. Our winters last 7 months. We have rainy springs and early falls, and it's just not conducive for Michigan.
Exactly.
Now, can solar panels work? We all know that they can, but you have to install them where they're going to get the most production. And here in Michigan, up in Sheboygan, up in the upper lower Michigan, they just cleared out 800 acres for solar panels. And here's the kicker. None of that energy is going to Michigan. It's all being routed to Chicago. So we're losing our land for Chicago.
Right.
Put those panels on the roof of all those buildings. Get them out of the ground.
They're trying to do the same thing
Let the
over here.
Democrats over there deal with it.
Yeah, they're trying to do the exact same thing over here, over by Pocatello. Massive. They say it's going to be the largest wind farm in America. All the power is slated to go to California. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And in Detroit, Mayor Duggan, who's also running for governor as an independent, recently he was invoking eminent domain on houses in certain areas of the city so he could demolish the house and put up solar farms. You're putting people on the street for solar farms. And then they're taking the Upper Peninsula and they're making it look more and more like Detroit with the solar panels and the wind farms. It's absolutely an atrocity here in Michigan with what they're doing. And then on top of that, you got to worry about what's falling down out of the sky. What's
Absolutely.
next? Acid rain?
Yep.
Well, yeah, they're covering the sun. So how is a solar going to work if you're not getting any sun?
Exactly. Don says they're covering the sun. How's the solar going to work if you're covering the sun?
Well, I did a video back in February. I had a sunny day, and it was 8-9 inches of snow on these solar panels. And I drove out there, and the one thing I didn't hear was the generators. When those things are working, they're humming. They make a weird noise. Well, these things were dead quiet. They had 8 or 9 inches of snow on them. You could barely even see that there were panels there. And I had a Democrat from Detroit tell me, you must be an idiot because the sun reflects into the solar panels and they still work with snow on them. And I said, wait a minute. Did you get reflect wrong with, whatever? Because anytime something reflects, it hits and bounces off. If it absorbs, it would melt the snow. And I told him that, and he comes back to me and goes, well, why didn't you have a broom and sweep them off? I'm like, that's not my job.
Exactly.
What do you want me to do? There's 900 rows of solar panels all covered in snow, and you want me to clean them off for you?
And
his response was, that's why we need illegal aliens. I'm like, no, that's not why we need them.
No, it's not. And everybody throws out these ridiculous solutions that aren't solutions at all. Baby, do you remember the book that we had that I read about the solar plant panels? And one of the things that was in that book is, we have these massive solar farms. I mean, 10,000 solar panels, and you need to clean those every single day to get the best out of them. If you have a couple days of dust on these solar panels, I mean, not even snow, but if you just have dust, did he say it cuts it by almost 80%?
Yeah, it was something.
It's ridiculous how much upkeep it takes. So it brings us around to this: nuclear power. what do you think about doing something that makes sense, that is the most clean power that we know of, and for input you get a lot more output?
Well, that's a big topic on my campaign trail, is talking to people about energy and nuclear energy here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
We have two companies, DTE and Consumers, and they keep telling everybody that with solar panels and wind turbines, your energy bill is going to go down. Yet no one in the state can honestly say their bill's gone down. And both of those companies just asked for a $228 million increase from the state to keep promoting this stuff.
Right.
Well, Donald Trump says he wants to increase nuclear plants by 40%.
We have to.
All across the country. And nuclear burns 90% cleaner today than it did just 20 years ago.
Wow.
And we have plenty of coal, especially here in Michigan. We have plenty of coal. We have plenty of natural gas. We have crude oil here in Michigan. We should use what God and Mother Nature have given us to create that energy where it's pennies on the dollar versus paying for these big, massive grids that are there to charge people's electric vehicles and not really keep the lights on in our home.
Exactly.
Our power here will go out in my house. It'll go out periodically for 30, 40 minutes at a time.
Wow.
And that's because they're conserving energy for all those damn electric vehicles.
Doing rolling blackouts.
Rolling blackouts. And it's by design. Well, now that the electric vehicle movement is kind of going the other direction because of Donald Trump, I see GM and Chrysler and Ford here in Michigan starting to change their lines back over to the hybrids. They're not promoting the EV as much as Governor Whitmer is. And I think that's the right thing to do. With the SMR modules, places like GM and Ford and Chrysler could create their own energy for free on their own property.
Right.
Which turns a revenue for them because they're not paying so much in electricity. Same with the weed farmers. Since weed is legal here in Michigan, they're paying $200,000 a month, and they can't even write that off on their taxes. So we help them establish these SMR modules to cut down that cost. And if that works, then you start implementing them in your small cities and townships, or a big one in your county, and your energy costs are going to go way down. It's much cleaner, it's more efficient, and you don't have to worry about the blackouts from the grid to conserve energy. So we are, I don't want to say desperately, but we are aggressively promoting nuclear energy, and the people here in Michigan love the idea of it. We have 4 or 5 plants already, and we're expected to get 3 or 4 more because of Trump.
Right.
We do that, or we go to hydro with all the dams and the lakes and the water that we have.
Hydro.
There's no reason that we should be paying $200, $300, $400 a month for electricity.
No, none at all.
Then what do? They control you by saying, hey, if you wash dishes or your laundry between 5 and 7, that's peak hour, so we're going to charge you more.
Yeah.
Well, if everybody goes to 8 to 10 to use their appliances, don't you think they're going to move the peak hours to 8 to 10?
Exactly.
Because people don't want to pay the extra money. So stop controlling us. Stop telling us what to do. Let us live free by our constitutional rights and our freedom in this country.
Absolutely.
We need to promote that.
You've got a lot of great possibilities up there, and I think that I will absolutely champion your push for nuclear energy and more hydroelectric energy, because it works. And then yes, liquid natural gas, coal. I mean, we're burning coal, clean coal, real well. Babe, what are they saying over there in the chat?
Well, Eileen Flanagan says hydro is the cleanest. Coal is not environmentally friendly.
I mean, here's the fact. Honestly, coal is more environmentally friendly. And Tony, you give me your thought on this. Coal is more environmentally friendly than both solar and wind. I mean, what it takes to build it, and coal doesn't kill entire flocks of birds. They
Well, let's look at it this way: coal works immediately, and it works 24/7, 365 days a year. If you got it, you can use it. these nuclear plants that we have in Michigan, they're hooked up to wind and solar. And for anybody who knows how these work, you have to burn the steam at about 220 degrees.
Right.
Well, with wind and solar, you can't regulate that. You can't turn it off and on like a light switch.
Mm-hmm.
But you can control it with the coal. You add some, you take some out. You can moderate the heat and keep it where you need to keep it. And it's a simple conversion, and we can reopen all of these nuclear plants here in Michigan. And the fact that we can use it, we can frack it and dig it today and use it tomorrow.
Right.
Even when it snows, when it rains, when it's cloudy, when it's sunny, doesn't matter. Coal works all the time.
Because you guys get cold up there. I mean, Michigan has a storied history of rough winters. I think you have two seasons, right? You've got summer and winter.
Yeah, some are here and some are not. But yeah, spring is really rainy and cold. I mean, it snowed as late as April this year, and up in the UP, it'll start as early as September or October and go all the way through April.
Mm-hmm.
So summer is very short. I used to have a boat, and we'd have about 8 weeks to go out on the water for recreation.
Right.
Because the lakes freeze over and the water stays so cold for so long that you're really only out there for July and August. And in September, it starts cooling down again. It's a beautiful state. Outdoors, hunting, fishing, recreation, camping. There's a lot to do here. They don't call Michigan God's country for nothing. But we need to protect it. And that's why we say Michigan is broken and we need to fix it. Because if we don't, Michigan will be unrecognizable in 20 years.
Oh, absolutely. Baby, do you got a question over there in the chat?
Well, we're still kind of on the coal. Vectum says disposal of coal ash is a problem that needs to be fixed. So if you're going to do the coal, that coal ash is what we talk about that goes into jet fuel. So how do you get rid of the coal ash?
Yeah, how do you get rid of the coal ash? That is one of the problems. Vectum is asking in the chat. Coal fly ash is added to jet fuel, and it's one of the reasons that we have entire cloud caps from horizon to horizon.
Right.
Can you, as governor of the state, can you mitigate some of that? Can you track that? Can you shut that down, or is that out of your purview?
No, we can always track. We can always, push for change within the state, but a lot of this is federal regulations. So you have to be willing to go to Washington and fight for the legislation that's going to become a national, reduction or improvement of the regulation. Like I said earlier, that was a big issue 20, 30 years ago. They said coal used to burn very dirty, and with the technology that we have today, it burns so much cleaner. So I think that ash that you're talking about is actually reduced with the technology that we have now, the puration system that it goes through. It's reduced, but will we ever fully get rid of it? I don't think we will, but we can always find ways to better the system, clean it up a little bit.
I think that, fly ash, and as my audience knows, I've had a number of great conversations with the multidisciplinary geophysicist, Dr. Herndon, about that. And he is the most peer-reviewed and published author on coal fly ash being used in the jet fuel. I think that there's any number of ways that this can be addressed, but the problem that we see, the problem that I see, is that it's almost $1 trillion a year business in just coal fly ash alone. It used to cost that industry a couple $100 billion a year as the industry in whole to get rid of it. And now they sell it to the U.S. government, who puts it in the jet fuel, and then they spray us with it, and that's where we're getting these high levels of aluminum, strontium, barium.
Let's look at the production of diesel over the last 20 years. The United States versus Germany with the burning of diesel in their diesel engines, right? Semi-trucks, pickups, whatever, tractors, trains. Germany has a 7-step process to clean the diesel so it burns clean.
Right.
The United States does about 6 of those steps, and they created that DEF system.
Right.
Remember the DEF?
Oh,
It goes into its own tank.
yeah.
It burns with the diesel so that the diesel comes out cleaner to match what Germany's doing. They're trying to cut the cost rather than taking that extra step or two. And because of the creation of DEF, our trucks, they burn the diesel at a much cleaner rate now.
Mm-hmm.
If we just took that model and we created a solution that could be burned with the coal ash, would that not be an incentive to get into the lab and start trying to find a way to do that like the DEF?
See, I agree. I mean, coal fly ash is combustible. It's still energy just waiting to be used. I think that there is a very reusable approach for it rather than putting it into jet fuel just so we have that cloud cover.
Well, with all these EV people, maybe they should be pushing for EV jets.
There you go. Hold on, I need to plug my jet in.
Yeah, we got to plug it in the terminal. We're going to have a 30-minute delay here.
Exactly.
But it's always ironic that they push the electric vehicle movement, but they never tried to touch the tractors and the trains and the airplanes. And you'd see all these congressmen flying across the country all the time
Right.
in private jets, contributing more pollution than those people driving that, gasoline-powered vehicle.
Absolutely. I think that the other thing that we need to take a look at is what is going to happen. You've got Gretchen in there, Gretchen Whitmer.
Whitmer.
Yeah, she is a huge proponent of electric and solar and all the stuff that costs the American taxpayer money, but she's not a proponent of carbon-based fuels, which really work. And I don't think that she's a fan of the nuclear as well.
No.
How do you overcome the people that support her, and how do you bring them onto your side to vote for you?
First, she's termed out. She can't run for governor again. She's done.
But she'll hand off those voters to whoever she endorses.
We're going to have to educate people with facts as to why we want to go this route with nuclear energy. We have to hit them where it makes the most sense, even though they don't have much common sense.
Yep.
And that's their pocketbook. If we can show you how we're going to save you money, so you're not working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 70 hours a week, and seeing 30% of your paycheck go to a wasteful spending government,
right?
We have to show you how we're going to do things differently so that you're becoming more financially stable within your own home.
Right.
That's why we go to work in the first place, to take care of our family, to live life and enjoy it. But right now, everybody's so financially strapped by design that we can't enjoy life for what it is. And I tell people all the time, the only way government can control all of these people is 2 factors.
Mm-hmm.
It's either with fear-mongering tactics or financial strapulation.
Right.
Well, they're doing both. And we seem to fall in line like sheep,
Mm-hmm.
and we allow them to control us and take our money. And then they do stupid things with it, like sell farmland to China, or open EV battery plants with China, or bring Canada in to dig the coal out of the mountains here in Michigan.
Right.
Where is that money going to help the people of Michigan? And there's no audit system. There's no accountability. So people just willfully pay that money and sit back and do what they're told. And I got news for you. I don't follow directions. I tell people I'm a shepherd of my own flock.
Exactly.
You lead by example, not by luxury. So you have to educate the people as to how they can gain more generational wealth by changing status quo. And if we're successful with that, we'll have a lot of Democrats voting for us. And we haven't even talked about my platform, such as getting rid of property taxes.
Yeah, let's
that
talk.
affects all of us. That affects all of
Yep.
us. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican or independent. We all pay property tax.
Exactly.
Well, if we successfully eliminate property taxes, we allow that generational wealth to grow. We allow people to fully own their property and not have to worry about having the state kick in eminent domain and take their house away from them.
Will you be
that's
the
yours.
first state that has that? Because I don't.
We would be.
I don't.
And the reason that this gets shot down is because there's not a program in place to quote unquote replace the money that the counties generate from property tax and state income tax to pay the essential services.
Right.
Part of that education is reminding people that we are a capitalist country, not a socialist country. And a lot of things that property tax and state income tax go to are socialistic agendas. Public transportation, that should be a consumer tax.
Exactly.
Like cigarette and alcohol tax, like the gambling tax, the gas tax, the marijuana tax. If you use it, you pay for it. The zoo charges you admission. They can raise their price if they want.
There you go.
But here's the kicker. The fire department. In the state of Michigan, the state's constitution never put the fire department in as a essential need because it was a volunteer service.
Oh,
Wow.
Right? It was never eradicated. It was never put in the state's constitution. So if we compare the fire department to you falling down, breaking your leg, and calling 911, they send an ambulance, right?
right.
You get in the ambulance, you go to the ER, you see the doctor, you get a cast, you get sent home. About a month later, you get a bill from the ambulance, you get a bill from the emergency room, and you get a bill from the doctor. You can pay for the fire department based on the services rendered when they come to your house. They can send you a bill. They can bill your homeowner's insurance if your house burns down and your neighbor's not paying for it. You are. There's a way to do things. One town in Michigan years ago used to have a membership program. If you paid couple $100 to be a part of that membership.
Right.
If they came to your house, you got a discounted rate. But if your neighbor who didn't buy into that membership and the fire department was called out there, they would get paid, they would get charged full price. Why doesn't that work?
Right.
Why don't you pay for what you use?
I tell you, it will be cheaper. And
it would be.
And
if it's cheaper, then the state doesn't have to collect as much in taxes to pay for those services. So we have created a 3% county tax. Now,
so you're not telling me that you're going back to the way that America was designed as a free enterprise country, and you're moving away from the socialism, the communism approach?
I'm rewriting the tax code in Michigan.
There we go.
And because when you think about it, only people who own a home pay for those essential services.
Right.
And you got all those renters out there, right? And they pay high rent to make up for it with the landlord.
Exactly.
When you get rid of the property tax, and we have a nasty state income tax, which is 4.25% of your earnings.
Right.
If you reduce that to 3%, and it's collected by the county and stays in the county, now you've got everyone in the county contributing. Rent goes down. Now renters and homeowners are contributing, and your essential services are paid for.
Fantastic.
None of that money goes to Lansing. It's bringing back local control within the county. So you have to revolutionize the state, and that's one way to do it. And we passed that blueprint on to the other states, and guess what? Nobody's paying property tax.
Exactly. Steve Jarvis, we talked about him earlier. He presented to RFK his program. I think he's going to be talking to somebody in the Trump administration in the next week or so. His million farm approach, put 1 million farms back. We've lost 1.3 million small farms in America over the last couple of decades. He wants to start bringing that back. And I think that people need to start eating food that is more local. Is there a way that you can work that type of formula into getting rid of the green energy BS in the solar panels and the wind farms, and getting rid of the property taxes? Let people own that land. And I'm telling you this, Tony, if you do that, you won't have enough space left in Michigan. The rest of the country will beat a path to your door because owning land, you're right. It's generational
It'll bring
wealth.
businesses back to Michigan because that property tax they pay in California, Texas, Florida, wherever becomes revenue in Michigan.
Yeah.
And when you bring the jobs back, you bring the plants back, you bring the families back because you have jobs.
Yeah.
So now the economy in Michigan will start thriving. And like you said, we would be opening the doors. Michigan will be open for business.
Yep.
And, we want to promote that in every state because every state needs to be economically sound.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you don't have to move to Michigan to not pay property taxes if I'm the type of governor that will go to your state and help you implement the same program here and show you proof, educate you how we transition from having governmental collateralization on our home to sole ownership. We have 87,000 families in Michigan that are being evicted because they couldn't pay their property tax.
Exactly.
And here's the realization. You can buy a $250,000 home, pay on it for 20 years, own it, and then lose it over a $2,500 tax.
Wow.
That's not fair. That's theft.
Yeah.
Where did you find a $250,000 home? There's nothing like that around here.
Yeah. There's no such. Don says, "Where do you find a $250,000 home?" But actually, there are. I think that we've watched a number of, like programs in Detroit and Flint and all that. And yes, they're downtrodden areas right now, but it doesn't mean that you can't restore those cities to the incredible glory that they once had.
Well, Flint used to be an industrialized city in Michigan years ago. I mean, the logging, the manufacturing, we were a thriving city. And then chaos kicked in, bad leadership, corruption kicked in, and people started getting paid under the table to turn their back, a blind eye on the people. And now we're almost at a point in history where if we don't bring back hope and a healthy heartbeat to these cities, they're going to be lost forever. And there's no reason for that.
Yep. Baby, do we have any questions over there in the chat?
I'm sorry, I was so deeply listening. DPFS.
I got to explain my shirt, though.
Oh, okay.
So I just got this shirt. On your screen, it probably spells Tony, but that's backwards. Tony backwards is why not?
Why not?
So we go around and we tell everyone, I'm Anthony Hudson. I'm running for governor. Why not?
Why not?
You can't eliminate property taxes. Why not? You can't change the auto insurance policies. Why not?
Exactly.
So
I love
we
that.
made these
That's
shirts,
perfect.
and I just got them today, so I wanted to wear it and explain to people what it means.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? I'm going to have to
It
give you
goes
one of
with
them
my name.
shirts. Exactly. Oh, my goodness. What are they saying over there, babe?
DPFS 98 said, our fire department billed us for emergencies. We pay county taxes and very high property taxes too. We have a corrupt governor though.
Yeah. The problem is, and they're saying that they have corrupt governors. The property taxes are just getting out of control. How do you make that happen with the state Congress that you have that absolutely loves high taxes and especially high property tax, and then you're going to be hit with
our state Congress is Republican. We hold the House.
Okay.
And we're down in the Senate by one seat. So coming up in 2026, if we steal a seat and win a seat and retain the House, we will retain the full trifecta.
Okay.
We'll have the Senate, we'll have the House, we'll have the governorship. Then you go to write your legislation, you'll get your 2/3 vote in your favor. The Democrats are always going to be asking, well, we'll sign off on this if you give us this or this. Well, you got to play the game.
Exactly.
You got to give them something in order to promote the biggest tax cuts Michigan has ever seen by eliminating property tax and promoting ownership.
Yep. We are running up against the clock, but tell everybody, first of all, what's your website and what is your X so they can follow you there. Everybody follow Tony on X.
Yeah, please help me grow my following here.
Definitely.
My website is electanthonyhudson.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a full bio page, gets a little intimate about where I'm from, what I stand for. We have a policy page with over, I think it's 18 policies that are at the top of our list.
You got
we
about
have
a
an
minute.
events page of where we're going to be. And then, of course, we have a shop that has all of our merchandise, our shirts, our hats, our flags, coffee cups,
Perfect.
just like this. Look at that. Coffee
Just
cup.
like that right now. Why not?
Black or white. I was drinking out of both of them.
Good stuff.
But the most important part about the merchandise is that's how I fund my campaign.
Yep.
I'm not going to lobbyists or special interest groups. If I'm going to be bought and paid for, it needs to be by the people.
Perfect. I am not cutting you short, but we're coming up on a hard break with OBBM TV network. But it is at Hudson 4, the number 4 governor on X. Follow him there. Let's build that follower. Tony, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to have you on again. And well, I'm Sergey Brown.
And I'm Dawn.
And we will see you next time.
Why not?